That's why it's such a big deal that Marco Rubio went on 7 network news shows last Sunday, because he's a new Tea Party sponsored Republican senator, and if he's demonstrating support, that's a pretty good move, because generally Tea Party folks in the Republican Party are much more conservative. So that's a signal like, oh, we're going to do this, even if we just realize we have to. We don't know what will happen. Maybe Tea Party folks will be mad. So in general, it's not really good to have your own independent parties, because you lose in the presidential race. Okay, sorry, you don't care about that. That's fair.
Okay, so for 25.
25.
So I'm already saying past content of the wealth there. So you're just really looking for a ground, a warrant, and a conclusion, and you look back up.
Yeah, and it should be somewhat identifiable as like, you should probably use, I didn't think about this, I didn't write it as clearly as I could, but in a perfect world, you should say like, I'm going to make a claim that's insufficient, and then tell me why it's insufficient, or too much of this value. Okay? Now, in practice, when I grade it, given that I haven't specified that, I don't know that at all, actually. That depends on what sort of, like, a huge majority of people don't bother to specify that. On some level, I realize that, but since you're here, you should do that. But yeah, in general, the evaluative claim just kind of makes sense, and then revisit that. That's what I was shooting for, but yeah, rereading it now, I should have added a phrase, but I can't now, so I won't. So, yeah. And effectively, I think I'm leaning to what you suggested, actually, that I probably won't get off on that anymore. Okay. Another reason why I do these things, it helps me realize, in my mind, things are pretty clear sometimes.
Mine's more about, when I don't understand something that, like,
yeah, sure.
Example,
sure.
It's number 26, the 2 principles, concept, and you said you write things down and you don't move back up. And the second part is to give an example, and I just don't really understand it, so I don't know how to give an example.
Oh. Well, okay, so that's from class today, right?
Yeah.
And so, one of the possibilities, for example, this is just sort of what you actually did, right? So that what we all did in class, they said, so you break things down, you break empirical complexity, right? Real world complexity out there in experience. You're able to label it. So you can say, I did this service learning thing, and I experienced, this, one of the workers there telling me that this is what was going on, right? And that's the empirical thing. And you say, oh, that seems like an example of claim thinking or something, right? And then I could do that with other things, that I can break it down into a different part of a model that best sort of provides or something like that. Does that make sense, Gordon?
Okay, so you like take an example and you break it down to one thing that has, and it's like a little circle.
Yeah. So that's sort of like you're just taking a concept and putting a label on it. Revisit the notes from today. Just sort of follow some of those steps. I took you to the thing, right? But what the process I did was sort of like, let's practice conceptualizing. So all you're essentially doing is saying, what's an empirical example, slap a label on it, right? This worker telling me this is what why the kids are here is an example of claims. That's just slapping a label on it. That's breaking it down into pieces. Now, if I did that with a bunch of other stuff, I build it up into explaining how the social problems of, my volunteer time at Cook Library worked. That would be an example of building it back up into a broader account. That part's a little more general. We didn't honestly do too much. We did a little bit. We started connecting things, right, across. So just say, I'm realizing that the claims that they make there impact their work because they repeat some of that stuff about the kids Maybe like the kids don't believe it. They're like, yeah, whatever. And you know what I mean? And so it affects their work. So their claims making undermines their, say you want to tutor kids and they're saying, these kids really need education. And they tell the kids that too, right? And some of the kids, I'm just making this up, I don't know what your experience is. Just remember how you were supposed to do it. Their work is complicated because their subjects, the kids or whatever, in best language, don't buy it. And so that now I'm connecting these specific things into an account of how the social problems work process is complicated. And that even this earlier claims making thing, which Beth at first suggests was done, and now you have media, it still affects this other part way over here. Okay? Or whatever your example was. So essentially I'm asking you to sort of just remember what you did today and talk about it in terms of breaking things down and then reconnecting, even if you're not connecting all 6 pieces or whatever.
So are the 2 principles breaking it down and connecting it again, or labeling it?
Breaking it down, labeling is part of breaking it down. Right?
Okay.
You break it down, we have to revisit the notion, right? So you analyzing is breaking it down into its pieces parts.
Mm-hmm.
Labeling is categorizing those pieces parts, right? Mm-hmm. That's all part of the first part. Mm-hmm. Okay? So you say, oh, this is an example of this general thing. Right? You do this all the time in the natural sciences. It just doesn't seem like that's what you're doing. And somewhere, and then you go, oh, okay, well, now that I know that that's a claims making, I can think, the best claim that this claims making is related to social problems work. And go, oh, yeah, actually it is, right? In the example I just gave, right? And if they said kids need education, some of those kids are interested in education. Right? Mm-hmm. That's all. That one, on that example, I think I'm going to be pretty easy. Okay? But like those basic questions.